The night is listening. Good evening, friends. I'm Mr. Narratory, and I'll be your voice tonight as we drift gently towards sleep. If these stories help you relax or fall asleep a little easier, consider liking and subscribing. It really means a lot. Tell me in the comments, what time is it for you right now? And do you have any little bedtime rituals? Now, settle in, get comfortable, close your eyes if you'd like, because it's time for tonight's story. I wasn't supposed to be on that road. I was coming back from a funeral 2 towns over. GPS rerouted me after an accident on the interstate, and I ended up on a stretch of highway I didn't recognize, even though I'd lived in the state my whole life. Nothing unusual at first. Long, empty lanes, overgrown median, a gas station every 40 miles that looked like it hadn't updated its soda machine since 2004. It was around 11:20 p.m. when I saw him just past the overpass at mile 193, walking along the shoulder in the direction of traffic, flashlight in hand, one arm out like he was trying to flag someone down. I slowed, rolled down the passenger window. He looked normal, maybe 30, jeans, windbreaker, short-cropped hair, calm, not panic. He pointed behind him and said, "Car broke down, just past exit 33. I checked my phone. No signal. The map app was frozen. I asked if he needed a ride. He said no, just asked if I could help him find the car." Something in his voice made me say yes. Not fear, not urgency, just steadiness. I pulled onto the gravel shoulder and followed him maybe 100 yards back, but there was no vehicle, no hazard lights, no tire tracks, just the sound of bugs and the occasional crunch of my boots. I asked, "Are you sure this is where you were?" He stopped, looked around like he didn't quite recognize the road. Then he said, "It was here." He turned in a slow circle, then looked at me and added, "It was here before the lights went out." I didn't understand what he meant, and before I could ask, I heard something that still makes my spine crawl. When I think about it, my phone vibrating in my jacket pocket. I pulled it out. It had signal again, and one new voicemail, but the timestamp was from 3 minutes in the future. I played it. It was me, my voice strained, breathing hard, whispering, "Don't stop. Keep driving. Don't trust him." I dropped the phone. The man didn't flinch, just tilted his head like a dog hearing a new sound. Then he smiled, small, tired, and said, "Sometimes they call early." I didn't ask what that meant. I just turned around and walked back to the car. He didn't follow. When I looked in the rear-view mirror, he was gone. No sound, no flashlight, just empty shoulder and the dark stretch of road behind me. I drove until I hit the next town, pulled into a 24-hour diner, and locked myself in the bathroom for 20 minutes. When I came back out, my phone was still vibrating. One voicemail every hour, like clockwork, all from my number, all with the same message: don't stop, don't trust him. Sometimes louder, sometimes panic, sometimes quiet, like I'd been hiding. I changed phones the next morning. New number, new carrier. Left the old one at a rest stop under a vending machine and kept driving. A week passed, then 2. Nothing happened. I stopped checking my mirrors so often, started telling myself I was just overtired, until yesterday, when I got a plain white envelope in the mail. No stamp, no address. Just a printed photo, still slightly curled from being developed. It was a picture of me taken from behind, walking down that shoulder, following the man with the flashlight. And on the back, someone had written a date. Tomorrow. I didn't sleep the night the photo arrived. I left the lights on, phone face down, front door double locked, and just sat in the middle of the living room floor with the envelope open beside me. The photo had no markings, no stamp on the back, no lab logo, just my shape, clearly taken from a distance, clearly real. I kept staring at the curve of my spine, the way I leaned forward like I was trying to hear something. The man with the flashlight wasn't in the frame, neither was a car. Just me, in the dark, walking toward a place I didn't belong. And that date on the back, tomorrow, wasn't a suggestion. It was a warning. I called my office that morning, told them I was taking a few days off. They didn't ask questions. I booked a room 2 counties over, paid in cash, left my phone at home. But paranoia doesn't respect plans. Every time I looked out a window, I expected to see the man with the flashlight. Not approaching, just watching, measuring, waiting for the moment when I started walking toward him again. But he never came. What did come was another envelope, slipped under the motel room door at 3:11 a.m. The same time the voicemail timestamps always hit. This one had 2 things inside. Another photo, this one, a blurry image of my car parked on the shoulder from a bird's eye angle, and a printed map, marked only with a red X at exit 33. I didn't go. Not yet. I checked online, searched everything I could about that stretch of highway. Local news, Reddit threads, missing persons databases. And that's when I found it. Not in the top hits buried in a comment thread from years ago, under a post titled, "Weird Shit Near Mile 193, someone wrote, "Saw a guy out there in 2012, waving like he was broken. No car, just walked back toward the dark. Felt like he wanted me to follow." I didn't. Couldn't sleep for days after. Every voicemail was from my own number. Another reply, years later, same thread. Exit 33 isn't a real exit anymore. Was sealed off in '99 after that pileup. Don't stop. Don't talk to him. And if he says something you remember, it's too late. I read that one 3 times, then 4. That phrase, "something you remember," hit me in the gut, because I realized he had said something that night. Something quiet, almost offhand, as I followed him down the shoulder. It was here before the lights went out. I knew that phrase, not from him, from my father. It's what he used to say when the power cut out during storms and I got scared, a little family phrase, something no stranger could have known. I didn't remember hearing it until now, or maybe I wasn't meant to. I drove back home the next morning, ready to pack a bag and leave for good, but when I opened the door, I stopped cold. My couch cushions had been flipped, shoes rearranged. My kitchen clock, the one I never changed for daylight savings, had been reset to 3:11. Everything else looked normal, but it wasn't. It felt too clean, too organized, like someone had been preparing for something. I found one more envelope on my kitchen table. This one was blank inside. No photo, no note, just empty. But on the flap, in faint ink, someone had drawn a crude road map. A single road with one exit labeled 33 and a circle at the end. Inside the circle, my name. I called the number from the comment thread the guy who'd posted back in 2012. It went straight to voicemail. But his recording? It wasn't him. It was me, my voice, tired, dry, whispering, "It's not a man. It's a recording, waiting for playback." Then silence. I haven't called again. I started tracing the names. Not the ones in the headlines, the ones buried in the comments, the ones mentioned offhand in old threads and archived calls to local radio stations about strange lights. Missing time? Or something standing just past the shoulder. There were more than I expected. Not 100, but not a handful either. Enough to feel like a pattern. Enough to see the curve of something beneath it. I bought a corkboard and started pinning. Threads, maps, phone numbers that disconnected after one ring. Every person I could find who'd mentioned exit 33, not even always directly, had one thing in common. They all described the moment they knew they were being followed by themselves, not watched, not stalked, echoed. One man, a retired trucker from Illinois, told a forum in 2009 that he'd pulled over near exit 33 because he thought his brakes were failing. He stepped out, looked under the truck, and heard his own voice say, "It's not the truck." Said it came from behind him. No one there. His dash cam stopped recording for exactly 3 minutes and 11 seconds. Another woman claimed her teenage son vanished after getting out to check a flat near that same mile marker. When police asked what direction he'd gone, she said, he walked toward a man holding a flashlight. But the strange thing was, the man looked just like him. The authorities chalked it up to grief. She was institutionalized the next year. I kept digging. I stopped going to work. I stopped answering texts. My voicemail filled up in 2 days. I listened to none of them. Not because I didn't care, because I didn't trust any of the voices. I set up a recorder beside my bed, just in case I said something in my sleep. First night, nothing. Second night, static. Third night, at exactly 3:11 a.m., I heard a sound like a zipper, then breathing, then my own voice, low, slow, like it was being dragged through static. It helps if you don't resist the second version. I've never said that phrase in my life, but the way I said it, the rhythm, the pause between resist and second, matched how I speak when I'm tired. Matched me. I replayed it over and over until I couldn't tell if it had come from outside the mic or from the space under my own tongue. That's when the voicemail came. Not on the burner. On the landline I hadn't used in 6 years. The one I forgot was even active. One message. Me again. Not whispering this time. Just breathing, then calmly saying, "You're getting close. The reflection is starting to memorize you." I tried calling it back. It rang once, then played a message. "This number is not in service." But when I checked the recent calls, the origin was listed as my number, not the burner, not the landline, the one I destroyed 3 weeks ago and left under a vending machine at a rest stop 90 miles south, the one that's supposedly still missing. I went back to the map, checked the lines. Something new had been added overnight, a circle around a new name, handwritten in the corner. Jamie R., 2013, never made it to wedding. I didn't recognize the name at first, but then I found an old email from that same year. Jamie had been the woman who posted in a local forum about the wrong version of herself getting home first. People mocked her, called it creative writing. She deleted the account after 2 posts. I tried to find her obituary. Nothing. Just a marriage license with her name and no spouse listed. Then, a missing person report filed 6 days later. Her car was found near exit 33. Empty. Engine still warm. Flashers off. Doors locked from the inside. I stopped searching for the missing and started searching for survivors. People who had seen the man, heard the voice, felt the pull of exit 33, and lived to talk about it. The problem is, almost no one fits that profile. Everyone I've found either vanished, spiraled into some kind of cognitive collapse, or changed their story later, as if something inside them rewrote it. I did find one, though. A man named Kelvin, 57, used to work long haul out of Kentucky, mentioned in a buried thread from 2015. He'd seen someone on the shoulder near exit 33, same as me, down to the tear in the jacket, but had kept driving. That was rare. Most people stopped. I found an address through public property records and drove 6 hours to a battered little farmhouse on the edge of a dying orchard. He opened the door before I knocked, like he'd been watching for me. Didn't ask my name, just stepped aside and said, "You need to say this out loud before it sticks to your lungs." His living room was empty except for a couch, a lamp, and a table covered in burned cassette tapes. He offered no explanation, just poured 2 whiskeys and sat. I told him everything, the man with the flashlight, the voicemails, the photos, the tape recorder whispering back to me in my own voice. When I got to the part about Jamie's name appearing on the map, he raised his hand, cutting me off. Then he said, "You've been marked. They record what reacts." I asked him who they were. He shook his head. "Not who? What? There's something on that road that learns through repetition. When you stop, it starts studying. When you follow, it begins to practice. And when it's ready," he trailed off, looked at the window, "it sends the rehearsal back first. I ask what happened if you ignored it, if you never went back." He finished his drink and said, "You ever hear your own voice say something you don't remember believing until that exact moment? That's how it starts anyway. Doesn't matter if you go back or not. Once you've heard yourself warn yourself, it means it's begun." I asked him why he hadn't vanished like the others. He leaned forward and said, "Because I never recorded anything, never wrote it down, never took a photo. Memory's too slippery. It can't replay what it can't lock down." Then he stood and pointed at the wall. Dozens of photos, all of different people, all blurred, all walking toward the camera. And in every one, the timestamp read 3:11 a.m. I asked who they were. He said, "That's the second version waking up." I didn't ask more. I left. But when I got in my car and checked my back seat out of habit, there was something there. Not a person, not an object. Just a folded piece of paper resting dead center. My handwriting, 3 words. "Drive past it. That's it. No explanation, no time, just direction. I went home. I burned every photo, deleted every file. But when I reached for the notebook, the one with all my original notes, the names, the places, the recordings, I realized I couldn't remember where I put it. Hours searching. Nothing. That night, I found it tucked neatly beneath my bed, open to a page I didn't write. It said, "Keep driving. Don't stop, even if you hear yourself scream." Below it, a line of text in all caps, "Pre-recording stable, trigger phrase accepted." I haven't said anything out loud since. I stayed quiet for 3 days. Didn't speak. Didn't even hum to myself. It felt like holding a door shut with my own body, as if sound itself had become a way in. I unplugged every device in the house, taped over every microphone, covered mirrors, shoved my TV into a closet. I drank water from paper cups, left the sink running so I wouldn't hear myself breathe. And still, I could feel it listening, not through tech, through timing. Every time I reached for something, I caught my hand moving just a fraction faster than I'd expected. Every time I thought I'd left a room, I'd see a light already turned off behind me. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was following. The delay was gone. It had caught up. On the 4th night, I had a dream, or maybe not a dream, just a recorded memory from the wrong angle. I was back on that road, standing beside the man with the flashlight. Only this time, I was the one holding the beam, and he, the other me, was squinting into the light, confused, asking, "Where's the car?" And I said, in a voice that felt perfectly mine, "It was here before the lights went out." I woke with the taste of road dust in my mouth. When I turned on the faucet, nothing came out. No sound. No water. Just waiting. That afternoon, I went for a drive, not toward the exit, just around town. Needed to feel space again. Roads. Movement. But every time I made a turn, I saw another version of my own car in the rear view, 2 blocks back. Same make, same year, same dent in the bumper. It never followed closely. It just stayed visible long enough to confirm it was still there. I stopped at a gas station. The clerk said nothing, just slid me a folded receipt with no items, listed just a time stamp, 3:11. I hadn't spoken to him, hadn't said a word, but my voice came over the station intercom as I stepped out, saying clearly, "It's okay. He'll follow eventually." I slammed the door and drove until dark, didn't turn on the radio, didn't even breathe heavy. But at one point, my headlights flickered just once, and in that half-second of shadow, I saw someone sitting in my passenger seat. Not turned toward me, not moving, just there. Then, gone. The seatbelt imprint still pressed into the cushion. I didn't sleep that night. I paced. I reviewed everything, every voicemail, every thread, every note I'd ever written. And that's when I saw it, a phrase that had repeated over and over without me noticing. "It helps if you don't resist." It had appeared in the audio, in the dream, in the whisper under the voicemail timestamp. But the worst part? I found it in my own journal from years ago, long before exit 33, long before the hike, a page from 2016, a single scribbled thought from a night I barely remember. Don't resist the second version. My handwriting, my phrasing, and I realized I hadn't started this. I'd already been through it once. This wasn't the first cycle. I was the return version, and I'd been sent to start the next. I didn't try to fight it anymore, not because I gave up, but because the concept of resistance had started to feel fake, like a borrowed instinct from a person I'd already overwritten. When you're told over and over that your thoughts aren't yours, that your voice was pre-recorded, that every step you take is being tracked to see if you remember how to make it feel human. Eventually, you stop checking for differences. You just move. The confirmation came slowly. Little things. I reached for a pen and found a note already written. The grocery list on my fridge began including items I hadn't eaten in years. Once, I passed a mirror and saw myself blink before I felt it in my own eyes. But the worst part was finding a file on an old hard drive I hadn't touched since college. No label, no date, just a 90-minute audio file titled Exit 33, Pre-install, Wait. I listened with headphones, heart pounding, ears braced for something alien. But it wasn't alien. It was me, talking, calm, conversational, describing a hike I hadn't taken yet, a man I hadn't seen, a photo I hadn't found, line for line. It was everything that had happened since the night I pulled off that highway, but told in past tense, like I was narrating a story I already knew would happen. The last few seconds were just breath, then a single line. If you're hearing this, you're the one that came back. I checked the file date, last modified 2 years ago, long before the funeral that took me down that road, long before the reroute. That night, I pulled every photo of myself I could find, printed, digital, old school IDs, spread them out across the kitchen table. In every one, the same tiny pattern just barely visible. My mouth forming a half smile 1 beat before the photo was taken. A rehearsed smile. I couldn't stop looking. That's when I heard the knock. 3 slow taps on the front door. I didn't move. Then the sound of paper being slid under. I waited. Minutes passed. Then I opened the door. No one there. Just an empty street, and the soft hum of something electric in the distance. Not quite a transformer, not quite a signal tower. I picked up the paper. A photo. Not of me this time, of someone else. Young. Confused. Standing beside a car on the side of a road I recognized immediately, and on the back, printed in clean block letters, "You will know what to say when he gets out." That was the moment I understood the truth behind every voicemail, every map, every whispered phrase passed from version to version. This isn't a haunting, it's a handoff. A replacement program that sends the previous copy back to greet the next, and I'm next in line to press record. The only thing I have to do now is wait. It didn't take long for the new one to arrive. You don't need to call them once the cycle knows you're ready. It places the next version on a track they can't see. You don't see headlights. You feel them. First as a pressure behind the ribs, then as a silence too perfect to ignore. I stood at the edge of the shoulder, windless night, clouds low over the highway. No phone in my pocket, no map in my hands. Just that photo of the young man folded in my jacket, the one they'd left under my door. When the car came around the bend, it didn't slow, not at first. But I stepped out, held up the flashlight, my flashlight now, passed from wherever the last one left it, and he did exactly what I had done. Slowed, window down. "You okay?" Same voice. Same posture, just like I had been. I smiled, not forced, not threatening, just tired, practiced. Then said it exactly the way I remembered it. "Car broke down, just past exit 33. He checked his phone. I could see the signal bar frozen. I could feel it from where I stood. He asked if I needed help. I said no. Asked if he could help me find it. And like I had, he pulled over. We walked. Same distance, same gravel crunch. He looked confused when we reached nothing. Asked where the car was. I said it flat, even not turning to look at him. It was here before the lights went out. That's the trigger. That's the line that opens the door. I saw him freeze. That microscopic recoil, just like mine the first time his brain cracked slightly along the center, and I felt the cycle settle. I walked him a little farther, then stopped, turned, and let him go back alone. You don't follow them from that point on. You just leave the seed behind. When I got home, I found the last envelope. Not on the table this time, not on the floor. It was inside the fridge, cold, damp, my name on it. Inside, a flash drive, unlabeled, plugged it in. One file, no video, just audio, my voice, telling the entire story, line for line. Beginning to now, ending with the phrase, "This message is for you," the version waking up. Then silence. Then my own voice again, deeper this time, more settled. "You're not hearing this because you're real. You're hearing this because it's your turn to explain." I checked the timestamp. The file was dated tomorrow. I shut the laptop, sat still for a long time. And then I noticed something new. Every mirror in the apartment had been turned to face the walls. I hadn't done that, but it didn't scare me. Not anymore. That's how the new version settles in. It learns to not see itself until it's finished copying the rhythm, and the rhythm now lives in me. I don't remember when my voice stopped feeling like mine. Not exactly. It was gradual, like hearing yourself recorded for so long that the playback becomes more familiar than the sound in your own throat. I've stopped checking clocks. They all say 3. 11 now, even the ones I've never set. Sometimes I hear things under the floor, not footsteps, not knocking, but the gentle click of a recording button being pressed. Sometimes it comes from the vents, sometimes from inside my own ears, and I let it. That's the difference between now and the beginning. I'm not resisting the capture anymore. I'm helping shape it. The next version will need me to be clear, to tell the story in a way that lands exactly where they need it to. Not to scare them, not even to warn them, just to prepare, because that's what this thing is. Not a monster, not a ghost. It's a rehearsal, a pattern of behavior looking for willing hosts. And now I understand the design. Exit 33 isn't a place. It's a position in the timeline where memory detaches, where you hear yourself speak before you think, where your steps follow you instead of leading. And once you've entered that space, the only version that continues is the one willing to tell the story again. I kept the photo of the man who pulled over. It's pinned above the door now. His name will come to me soon, just like mine did when I started repeating the pattern. I've made a new recording. A clean one. Calmer, polished. It's labeled for playback next arrival. I'll leave it in the glove box, just like they did for me. The file ends exactly the same way, with a soft inhale, a pause, and the words, "You've made it through the day. Now it's time for something gentle. Good evening, friend. I'm Mr. Narratory, and I'll be your voice tonight as we drift gently towards sleep."